Well, hello there and welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for joining me today on the channel. I invite you to subscribe so you have no trouble finding us when we post new videos, usually Mondays and Fridays of every week. Occasionally a little extra one tossed in there. Today, I want to do something with clocks. Now, I have two big clocks here, and these were both found at the thrift store. And I got to tell you, it is really super common to find these in thrift stores because they start looking kind of old and tired, and people change out their decor. And so they get rid of these so they could purchase another big clock for their wall. As opposed to taking the time, kind of painting it out, doing something with it to zhuzh it up so that it works in your space. So we are going to do two different finishes, two different looks to these clocks. But the first thing that I need to do is to take them apart. Now, this one doesn't have a bad clock face. It's pretty simple, pretty basic, pretty clean looking. This one, however, you'll immediately notice the graphics aren't as crisp, they're not as clear. This is kind of a little pixelated. I mean, it got blown up bigger than it should have, and it's got a slightly blurry quality to it. So as much as I may use this clock face, this one I can't use because, well, I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna. Because it just doesn't look good anymore. Now, I have put in new batteries to make sure that they actually work, and they both do. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is take the screws out of the back of both of these and see what I'm looking at in terms of being able to get them apart easily. Now, what I have done, because these are little baby screws, I've got little plastic bags to be able to pop them in so that I can find them easily and readily. So let me get these clocks taken apart, and then I'll come back at you with the first step of our project makeovers. Now, this came apart just fine. I don't have the best luck with taking the workings off of the clocks and then getting them to work again. So I'm gonna try and leave it together because it is keeping time now. But here's what I want to do. I want to use the clock face as a bit of a guide. One, because with these in place, I need whatever I do to not interfere with the workings. So it means that because I want to use some molds, I can't have them any higher than this hand is going to go and no closer to the center than this hand. Okay, so that it doesn't interfere with the turning. And because these are already lined up, it gives me a good idea of where to place my new numbers. So what I'm thinking of is using the Harper IOD mold and putting new numbers here. They're going to be raised, and then when I paint it all, and I can add some distressing and colors to be able to make the numbers stand out, then I'm going to have the face of the clock match the frame of the clock. That's the plan. But what it means is I have to do a bunch of numbers and glue them down into place. And rather than doing the 12s, I think I still want to stick with doing these, the Roman numerals. No. Okay, maybe I'm going to do the actual numbers just because I'm looking at this and I'm kind of thinking, this set only has the small letters, and there is a Victoria mold that has big letters, but they're kind of wiggly. They're a little bit different. So I don't like them as much, but these are going to be small. Okay, let me go get the Victoria mold and we'll take a look. Okay, so the Victoria mold The good thing about it is that the I can use as the 1 and then the V, and they're going to be bigger. Not as big as these, but they're going to be bigger. Okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm using. All right, so what it does mean, let me open this up. I've just bought myself a new mold. I just kind of purchased these for myself as I actually use them for projects. So, add a little bit of cornstarch. A little bit of cornstarch. And I'm going to do an I and a V and an X. Where's my X? Here's my X. So I'll be doing a lot of I's because I need a lot of the number 1s. I mean, here I need 4 of them. 4, 5, 6, 4, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I need about 19 of them. All right, I'm gonna start making all my numerals, and I am going to glue them in place using just a nice tacky glue, because I'm gluing them onto a flat surface. I don't have to worry about them rolling. I'm probably going to be using a wood glue because that's what I have a lot of in the shop. But I'm going to kind of do them and glue them as I go. And it's going to look a little weird because I'm going to glue them over top of the layout that's there already, but just know I'm going to be painting over top of all of that, right? So it'll be okay. And my X. So the nice thing about the IOD molds is that micro rims. So you're able to push that clay, which is nice and soft, against those micro rims. And then for something like the letters that are fairly delicate, flip it upside down, and I take the same brush that I used to brush the cornstarch inside the mold, which helps them unstick, helps them release well, and then I use that same brush to kind of just tease them out so that I'm not pushing or pulling at them with my fingers and distorting any of the image or the details. Okay, so those are my first ones, and I think I will plan on doing them about halfway up those existing numbers so that they'll still be sort of balanced in there. All right, 3 done and 5 million more to go. I have got, oh, I'm missing one. I just saw that. Okay, I'm gonna get that made, but in the meantime, I have all my little numbers, apart from one of them apparently, made. So what I need to do is get them glued down. I just need to clear off the top of my glue here. Okay, it's good sticky glue, but man, it gets covered over. Okay, so I tend to, with any of these molds and any of the clay, you want to ensure that you get your glue from end to end and side to side. And that just means that as it starts to dry, there's always a little bit of shrinkage. And it just means that if the glue is holding it down, then you're not going to get you're not going to get the shrinkage happening and lifting your number, your figure, your whatever. So there, I had to turn that around. That's where I dropped it. Just because these have kind of little bumps on one side. So I just want all the little bumps on them to be facing the same direction. And that may not matter once it's all done and painted, but you know, in my head, it impacts the look of it. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, for something like this, I just tend to use my finger because it's just easiest for smearing it all out into all of those detailed areas. But you can use a little mini paintbrush. You know, you could use a little end of a kind of a credit card kind of thing if you wanted to be able to spread it out. I just tend to use my finger. And again, my axis, the little side, is facing in. Okay, everything's got a right way, wrong way. So I am just going to get these all glued down all the way around. Get that missing numeral 1 done and glued down as well. And then I'm going to leave this overnight to dry just because they're little and they're detailed, and when I go to paint and do any of my distressing or whatever else I'm going to be doing with this, I just don't want to be moving them around or losing any of the definition. This is our second clock face. This is the one that's in the pine pine frame here, which the glass is kind of glued in. I was hoping the glass would pop out, but it is what it is. Now, this face is okay, so it's fine. But again, I just wanted to personalize it a little bit. Zhuzh it up. So I have here the brocante transfer, and what I was thinking is, I kind of maybe want to consider adding some of the birds. Now, not the whole birds because that's too much, but I have about 5 inches here. I could maybe add just some of the birds going across here, and then maybe some flowers going up around them. I don't know. So I'm gonna cut the birds apart and see. I mean, the worst thing that happens is I don't like it, and then I put the birds back. The other piece is that this is just paper, and I'm not sure how well the transfers are going to go on there. But the idea is that I could fit those birds right there. Now, I obviously have to cut around. I'm just going to try it. Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? I just want that little piece off. So if I stuck you in there, that doesn't look too bad. Sometimes you just have to kind of futz around with stuff and then see what works, what doesn't work, how it works. Okay, I love these birds. I don't want to waste these birds though. Okay, a little deeper. there. Okay. Now we see. Yes. Oh, they're so cute. Look. So cute. Okay. Okay, I love that. All right, now I have to think about whether I want to put some little flowers here and there or not. I kind of love those guys enough that I'm debating. Maybe that's it. Okay, let me see. Let me see options. All right, maybe this one might be okay. Let's see where it fits. So sometimes, guys, you just kind of try, right? Like just cut out a transfer, see where it fits, what it looks like, and decide from there, right? Okay, if I did that, this would get cut off right about there. And it goes down to about there. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, it's sticking. It's decided it's going there. Yay! So this is our clock now. Okay, I love that. Those birds are everything, aren't they? In that brocante transfer. Guys, if you haven't bought this transfer, just do it for the birds. It's just, they're just gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna put that off to the side and I'm gonna bring this back over. So we have to get painting this. I am gonna wanna do a whitewashed effect, but I am gonna put down my base color first. And my base color for this is going to be Apothecary by DIY. So I am likely going to need, oh, I love this color. It's gonna look so good with that background. I didn't want to do a white, a stark white. We are going to whitewash it, but we're still going to have that green tone coming through. But the background on our clock face is an off-white, and it just looked a little bit, a little off with pairing it with just a flat white. So I'm going to get this painted up, get 2 coats of this Apothecary from DIY. And again, the paint, the transfers that I'm using, you can get those off the website, queenbeecreationshome.com. And we do ship throughout Canada and the US, so pretty available. Or you can check on the DIY site or on the IOD site to find a stockist near you. Our other clock, our numbers, you can see them, have all dried. What my plan is for this one is I want to paint the face the same color as the outside frame of this clock. And the color I'm going to use is an Annie Sloan color, because sometimes I get customers who want a particular color that I don't carry, or that's not part of the DIY line, that they have other pieces in their home that are painted a particular color. Annie Sloan is one of the paints that I don't have a problem using. I love the duck egg blue. In which case, if that's what they request, then I pick up that paint for them. But it does mean sometimes I'm left with little bits and pieces of other colors. That's the situation with the duck egg blue. And so I am looking at using it up. And so for those of you that, you know, you're looking, going, oh, could you do that with this paint? Use whatever paint you have, right? I happen to have a little bit of the duck egg blue left, and I want to use it up. And I love that color. Sometimes maybe they ask me to use a color that's really not as pretty. And I may be a little bit more hard pressed to use it up. Sometimes I use it to mix in with other colors. So maybe that color on its own isn't particularly attractive, but if I mix it in with other things, it will be more attractive, and so I'll use it that way. Or sometimes I'm pretty hard pressed to use it and it goes to waste. I hate it when that happens though. So, what I am doing for both of them is I am taking a smaller brush and using it to go around that inside rim. Now, if I get paint on the glass, which I already have over here, then it's okay, because I will just take my X-Acto knife and I will trim that off. But this is the same paintbrush I'm going to use to try and get under the arms of my clock face there, because I'm a little leery of removing them and being able to reattach them. And I know I'm being a chicken, so I'm going to take a closer look and see if I can do it easily and still have the clock working. If I can't, then I'm going to have to paint around the clock hands, which just means I'll just move them out of the way and paint, and then move them out of the way and paint. And just like the other clock, I'm going to get 2 coats of paint on both the frame and, in this case, the clock face as well. So with that, I am just going to want to make sure that I get in and around all of those little letters, all the little numbers, right? And we'll see if I need more than the 2 coats, just because I'm covering all the black lines and things on this as well. For this particular frame, this is the Apothecary one that has our bird insert going in. I want to do a couple of things. I want to seal the paint, but I need to get just a little bit of paint that I got onto the glass off of the glass, just because if I get some of my sealer on there, I really don't want my sealer to seal the paint on. It's going to make it tougher to get off. So all that I do is I take an X-Acto knife on its side and I just run it lightly around that edge. And all of that paint just lifts off, no problem. I still want to do a bit of a whitewash effect with this piece, but I actually want to seal it first. So I'm going to take some Big Top and just get this sealed and dried before we do the next effect. And then this one's done after that piece, so this is close to finished. Now this is the duck egg blue frame with the painted center. And we are going to still have a couple of steps on finishing this one. We want to make, I mean, the outside is fairly boring in the sense that it's a fairly sedate kind of round frame. It doesn't have tons of details. And again, the inside doesn't have a lot of detail to it either. So what we want to do, and if I had something to open this with, is we want to add a little bit more detail and in particular some aging to it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take my clear wax by DIY and I am going to clear wax the outside and the clock face before we do any more details. So I just forgot to get a brush to do that. Magic of television, I now have a brush to do that. All right, so just the same as with the DIY paint, you can see the chalk paint, because this was Annie Sloan that we were using up, although I still have a bunch of it left. But it's a color I love, so I'm okay with that. But you can see that it will darken slightly where you put that clear wax. And I'm putting that down because some of the other techniques, some of the other colors that I'm gonna be adding to it, I want to, I don't want them to sink down right into my paint. I want to be able to move them and lift them. So what I am going to do is apply my wax in a nice light even coat, but I am not going to wipe it back. So, and the other techniques that I'm going to be doing, I want you to realize I'm doing onto a wet wax. So I'm not going to leave this to dry overnight either, because I still want that wax available to help me be able to move some of the other waxes that I'm going to be using. I think that all makes sense in terms of an explanation. And again, if I'm getting wax on the glass, I am getting wax on the glass, but it just cleans up with Windex, so no worries. Okay, I have my clear wax on. Now what I have is I have white wax and I have dark wax. So white wax, I have a big brush for. The dark wax, I have a little brush for. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to get a bunch of this white wax on, and I just want to kind of lighten the face up a little bit. And in particular, it's going to be helping to kind of highlight a lot of those letters. Or numbers, because there's not really any letters, but you knew what I meant. And if you didn't and you're wondering, what letters, what letters? Numbers, numbers. It's numbers on a clock face. Okay, so before I move the hands, I have a clean white cloth, and I just want to start wiping some of this back. So I'm gonna let it sit down in a lot of the creases around my numbers. I mean, I don't want it in globs. But we're just wiping it away. So we're kind of creating a bit of a smoky, cloudy look on this. It's going to outline all of those numbers a little bit, give them a little bit more definition. And because I haven't done it all, you can see the difference, right? So that's the first step with some of our aging. And I'm going to do this to both of them. So let me get the outside piece done as well, which is much easier at wiping back. And then I'll come back at you for the next stage, which is our dark wax. I've just put on the white wax on both of these pieces. What I want to do is I want to take a little bit of my dark wax. And dark wax is not black wax. Dark wax is brown. Black wax is black. Okay, duh. And I just want to add a little bit of aging. So I took a tiny, tiny bit, put it onto the lid, and then I kind of spread it around. So there's not tons on my brush. But what I am gonna do is just kind of dab it and kind of move it around. I wanna kind of wipe it around the outside. Take it down a little bit here and there, right? And so notice I haven't dabbed any more on my brush. When I get that I don't have a lot, then I'm gonna go to my numbers, okay? And I'm gonna outline them a little bit. So again, I still haven't dabbed my brush again. I still have just the same amount of wax on there. So that tiny little bit, I've managed to do all of those sections with that dark wax. And I'm taking it down toward the center a little bit, here and there, right? Creating a little bit of aging and wear in there. So you can see the difference with those three numbers versus the others. They've all got that white wax on, gave it a little bit more definition, but look how much more they pop and they stand out now. So I'm gonna do that all the way around my clock face, and I'll do the same a little bit around some of the grooves on kind of the frame, the border, the round part. But again, you know, it's gonna have some wear just the same as this and a little bit of age, so we want them to be tied in together more than anything else. But what you're looking at doing is making sure, keep this light. If you get too much on, you can take your clear wax to move it around, but one of the reasons that I still wanted to do this when this wax was wet was because it enables me to be able to move it around already. And I'm putting some of the wax in between the numbers. I'm putting some of the wax on the numbers. So just helping to highlight them. And then we just need to let it dry and put it together. So excited. I love when the project starts to, when it all comes together. The final step for our apothecary green frame, so this is the one with the birds, because the blue and the green sort of on camera, I think, look a little similar. They look very different in real life. But for this one, if you caught my video where I talked about the new DIY all-in-one paint, the one curated by Jamie Ray Vintage, I did over gray, I did a white wash effect, and I wanted to try that over the apothecary. So I've sealed the apothecary, and what I'm taking is the vintage linen in the cottage colors. This is a one-step paint, so it's got a built-in sealer, which means after this technique, I don't have to do anything else because this is already sealed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the white on, getting it down into all those little crevices that I've got on this. And because I'm doing a thin coat and moving it along, I don't want to paint the whole thing because it'll be dry. So I'm going to paint a little bit and then I'm going to wipe it back. But look at this. Look at that whitewash kind of pickling effect of it. It's sitting down in the lows. It's got some sitting in those little spots that are built into this. Gosh, I love this. And what's great about it is that it's finished. It's gonna dry and it's all sealed. That's kind of awesome, guys. All right, I came in today thinking I'd be done with this particular clock, but I decided that it was a little bit too much white space. So what I have done is I've taken one of the little label transfers from the brocante, and I've sliced it down and sliced a hole in it with the idea that I could then slip it in under the clock faces, and the clock hands. And I think that my wax is dry enough that I should be able to get the transfer to release on the wax. We're gonna see. Okay, I'm just trying to line it up slightly between the 12 and the 6. I'm gonna take the little tool and I am just going to rub and scrape that on. I think that's got it. I'm trying. Okay, it kind of balances it off a little bit. I'm thinking that there's a couple of words here, and maybe I will cut these ones off and put them at the top. Okay, so I am just going to add on a couple of these words, and then I'm going to reassemble this and show you the 2 finished clocks. We've got our 2 clocks finished, and guys, let me share them with you. Such a transformation. So this one, if you can recall, was our heavy kind of orangey pine wood frame. Now this is the original paper backing, but we zhuzhed it up a little bit by adding in the birds from the brocante transfer and some cute little florals. This is done in the apothecary green with the vintage linen all-in-one paint, painted on and then wiped off. So I love this, super cute. Now the other one was the one that we added our molds to, and we just added a little bit of transfers too. So let me see what you think of this. This is the duck egg blue. And can you see those numerals? So we added in the numbers over top of the original paper because it was really kind of pixelated and it looked old and dated. This was that cream that was old and kind of grungy looking. And look, we've got this beautiful aged kind of blue and softened with the white wax. We've got some dark wax to be able to age it. I love them both. You know, here's the thing. The idea behind this is you can get these big clocks from any of the thrift stores. They're a pretty easy find in my area. Hopefully they are in yours too. And they work. More often than not, they work. If not, pretty easy to drop in a new little clock kit. But the idea is that they get old looking, they get tired looking, they get dated. And with a little bit of paint, some wax, maybe some transfers, you can zhuzh them up to fit any of your changing decors, right? So as you change styles, they can change along with you. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. I love the transformations of both of these. Let me know if you do. As always, I look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, take care.